Welcome to SpotOn Profile Basics. This is the first of 7 webinars in this series. Each webinar covers one module within Zoracle's SpotOn profile. Let's join Rebecca Monet, President and Chief Scientist of Zoracle Profiles, now as she discusses values and motives.
Today we're going to talk about values and motives. So one of the things I want to say about values and motives is that values and motives are how your prospective franchisee makes every single one of his decisions. How he spends his time, how he spends his money, every single decision from what he wears in the morning to how much money he's going to spend to what business he's going to buy is based on his core values. So one of the primary pieces of this assessment is to uncover and reveal for you what his or her values are, so you can then show a business that best mirrors back those values. Now, values, as you probably have already guessed, are a part of culture of a franchise organization. So we're looking for businesses where a prospect has certain values that meet up to certain franchisor values and vice versa. So let's look at big picture first. There is a horizontal axis and a vertical axis to this particular assessment. So you'll notice above the horizontal line, there are the achiever and the emulator, and below the horizontal line, the belonger and the societal. We're going to talk about the values of each of those. Above the horizontal line, you'll notice that the achiever and the emulator is driven by power and passion. This is sort of the core of who they are. They're driven to acquire passion and power at the same time. Now, they're both folks that are self-driven, meaning what they want to accomplish is about themselves. Now, if we go below the horizontal line, we'll see that the belonger and the societal is others-directed versus self-directed, meaning they put the needs of others ahead of themselves. If we look at the vertical axis, we go to the left, we have the achiever and the belonger. We'll see that the achiever and belonger is driven by a return on investment. Now, the belonger down below versus the achiever up above is driven by a faster return on investment. And you've seen these kind of prospects in your offices. The belonger is someone that requires a return on investment very quickly, 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, but a very quick return on investment. The achiever has a little longer period of time before they need a return on investment. So see that as a continuum also. To the other side, the other vertical part, you'll see that the emulator and the societal is more driven by vision or the product. So these are much more innovative folks. So they're very interested in the product or the service that the franchisor is offering. The achiever, the belonger, less concerned about the product or the service that the franchisor is providing. They're interested on, am I going to make my money back, and how quickly can I do that? So let's break it down just a little bit. Let's talk about the belonger first. You'll know people just like this. This is an individual that's sort of the backbone of society. He or she is very conservative, tends to operate from very conventional, traditional codes. These are not folks that will step out of their comfort zone or do things that are wild and crazy. So they have an established routine frequently around their church, around their family, around school activities. So they're very traditional and routine types of people. And most importantly to them is their home, their relationships, their family, etc. So again, notice the vertical and the horizontal lines here. Return on investment needs to be very quick, and they are principle-oriented and others-oriented. So when we mean principles, this could be a moral code that they live by, but you will frequently hear them stand firm on a certain principle that they have. That could be duty, it could be religion, it could be a number of things, but these are highly principled individuals that live by that kind of ruling. So they're very predictable folks. These are folks that are very brand loyal. These are folks that will live in the same house for years and years. They'll stay with the same job. They'll stick with a particular brand of a car for many, many years. So they're very predictable, very loyal types of customers. And they're never, ever impetuous or impulsive. These are folks that are a little bit suspicious of new things, actually. So they're naturally not going to be attracted to businesses that are trendy or in any way look like a fad. They're going to be folks that are interested in a business that has some long history to it that folks are going to use for a long period of time. The blogger typically has moderate income. Think of them as the backbone of America, the steady eddies of our society. They don't like things that are fancy and extravagant. They live within their budgets, and they will not be living on that house on the hill when within their budget instead is something that makes more sense for their family, and especially as that family grows. This is the perfect belonger that you're looking at right here. This is a constellation of values. What makes this individual a belonger is the set of values that he lives his life by, that he makes his decisions by. So at the core of a belonger is someone that comes from a moral compass or set of principles that they're living by. So they're driven by relationship. They need security, stability. These are dependable folks. They give you their word. They're going to follow through with what they're doing. They're folks that have a lot of integrity, usually have some kind of a spiritual underpinning, and they're driven to provide for and protect their family, and they have this almost sense of duty about them. So again, backbone of our society, the steady eddies, consistent in their lives, predictable in their lives, and definitely folks that you want a ton of in your life as your friends. I want to talk a little bit, however, about, as you're looking at the belongers, some of the concerns or fears that they're going to have. And you're going to bump into this. You attracted a belonger. You're working with them through that process of taking them to the right franchise opportunity. Certain risks and certain fears are going to come up. As you know these fears, you can help them overcome them or bypass them so they can go on with the process of making a wise decision. One of their biggest fears is that we'll show them a business that will separate them from their loved ones, that they're going to be working long into the night or on weekends, or it's a business that doesn't include their family. So we have to remember they are completely dedicated to their family. These are folks that would love their wives, their nephews, their sons to go in business with them, if not today, someday in the future. So being separated from their loved ones is the number one fear that they have. They want a business where they can work the 9 to 5, where they can go to Johnny's soccer game if necessary. A second big fear that they have is a fear that something they will do, i.e. buy a business, will in some way be irresponsible, that it jeopardizes either time with family or money set aside for Johnny's education. So they're very responsible individuals, very dependable individuals. They're not going to do something that's going to risk those that they're protecting and providing for. The third fear that they have is financial insecurity. This doesn't mean they don't have money. They probably have it underneath their mattress somewhere or stocked away. But financial security is very important to them, and they will not do something that harms their family in any way. So they're much more pragmatic in their approach to investing, and will typically be looking at more conservative financial investments when they're looking at businesses. So let's talk about the belonger. Based on his values, this is what he's sort of looking for, what he needs, what he wants when he's looking at a business. By the way, belongers make great franchisees. We just have to find the right franchise system for them. So a belonger, because he's steady Eddie, he needs consistency, he needs dependability, he doesn't like things that are trendy and possibly fad-like, he's going to be looking for historically proven systems. This is not a guy or gal that's going to do well in an early stage franchise business. He needs to be more in a plug-and-play type of business where there's some history behind it. If you're showing them a newer concept, at minimum, show them a concept where that industry is proven, that it's going to be long-term. Belongers are long-term players. They will be with the franchise system until the day they retire. So we want to find a business that they're going to enjoy and that their family can participate in for the long time. Look for a business for them that's high touch. Remember, they're relationship-oriented. The technical gizmos they're not so interested in. So they want a business that's high touch, where they're talking to their clients, they're building relationships with their clients, and the same with their employees. They are people-oriented folks. They're looking for an organization that has strong head office support. These are folks that are not going to ramp up quickly. They're going to ramp up slowly but steadily. At year 6, at year 7, they may indeed even be some of the best performers within that franchise organization. But those first few months, even the first 18 months, there's going to be a need for the franchisor to do some hand-holding, some coaching, some mentoring. The belonger is a complier. The belonger is someone that will follow the rules and follow the system and not try to reinvent the wheel. But they do need some coaching and they do need some hand-holding those first several months. Once they're up and running, they're going to be steady performers and grow progressively year after year. They're looking for credible management at the franchise corporate headquarters. They want to know this person's been in the business for a while. This person has a certain level of expertise that they bring to the table. So they're looking at the head office almost as parents, or mentors. So it's important that you find the business where they have some access to credible management that they can lean on and they can trust. They want tangible products and services. The idea of something too trendy is not going to be something that they're interested in. They're looking for tangible things, services that are used day in and day out, carpet cleaning, home repair, dry cleaning, all kinds of businesses that we know are going to be around forever and ever, hair cutting, etc. And of course, they're looking to involve their family, either today or sometime in the future. We want that family member to be involved in this business, or at least I want to pass it on to my son or my daughter if I'm a belonger. Let's talk about the emulator. The emulator is a guy or gal that has incredible amounts of intensity and energy. They're very impulsive. They're very enthusiastic. They have a lot of energy, a lot of confidence in themselves. They see themselves as having the potential to succeed at just about anything. You've had them in the office, right? You've talked to them on the phone, and you're instantly impressed with their drive and their motivation and their willingness to step out. The emulator, however, oftentimes does not yet have the success they want you to believe they had. This doesn't mean they don't have the potential, because certainly they do, and they'll evolve into it. But it'll be a lot of smoke and mirrors initially when you meet them, because the initial portrayal of themselves is not always consistent with what they believe they are. These are folks, if we look at the horizontal and vertical, that are driven by passion. They are self-directed. It's about them succeeding, them being in control, them having power, them making money. So it's about self. And they're very interested in the product or service your franchisor has to offer. Ideally, it's something that is exciting, sexy, trendy, something on the cutting edge they're going to be very interested in. These are typically your early adopters, folks that really enjoy something new and up and coming. So they're naturally risk takers, willing to risk almost everything, including their firstborn, to get into business. So they're willing to do what it takes to succeed. Put in the hours, put in the money, put in the energy that it requires to succeed. So they're looking and driven by this desire to have others recognize them and approve of them as they're in this process of self-sufficiency. Many of them are not yet self-sufficient, but they're in process of that and wish to be. They want more control of their lives, and they believe that they can have it, and so they're willing to do what's necessary. Now, we also know that emulators are non-conformists, not particularly good at following systems or processes. They're the first, and you've seen them, right, that come into your office, you show them an opportunity, and they're telling the franchisor or you immediately all the different ways they could be running this business, none of which are how the franchisor has laid it out, right? So these are folks that are endlessly creative, endlessly innovative, and not particularly good at following systems. So naturally, we want to put them in a system where there's a lot of flexibility, where they can do some of the innovating themselves, create some of the systems themselves, where they have a bit of latitude in what they're supposed to do day in and day out. So a system that's a little too bureaucratic would not be a good fit for the emulator. So these are folks that have active lifestyles, diverse lifestyle. One weekend they're snow skiing, the next weekend they're out sailing, and the next weekend maybe they're traveling to Europe. They're very diverse and they're very active and they're juggling a lot of things. These are early adopters, trendsetters, love trendy, cutting-edge products, and they're always looking for an environment, including a business environment, that's fun, exciting, ever-changing, and interesting. These are folks that are interested in their immediate future. They're not long-range thinkers like what we saw with the Belonger. The emulator's thinking about tomorrow, paying the mortgage on Thursday, paying the lease on their car on Friday. They're thinking short-term, so they'll ramp up very quickly. They'll put in incredible amounts of energy to get that business going, but they're not always long-term players. That's okay. If they're desiring to exit at some point, they can sell their business or they can bring somebody in to take that business over. So they're very good at initiating and they're very good at starting. They will, of course, evolve, just like the franchise system evolves, and hopefully evolve where they can now manage a business, because that's a different skill set altogether, right, versus starting a business and managing a business, and many of you can relate to that. So this is the perfect emulator, right? This is our guy, this is our gal. Notice at the core of who he or she is this passion for life, a zeal for life that he or she has. He's driven by a desire to have independence. He wants success. He wants prestige. He wants money. He wants a challenge, and he needs recognition. And as odd as it sounds, he loves a little competition, whether it's in sport or whether it's in business. He needs and wants competition. He's not going to turn away from a franchise system that has several competitors. In fact, he will be interested in a franchise system that has some competition. He also needs and desires flexibility. Flexibility so he can innovate. He loves to innovate. He loves to make things up ad hoc. Let's talk about some of the risks and fears of our emulator. At the core of our emulator, okay, he's put up a lot of smoke and mirrors for you, and at the core of that emulator is a fear of being embarrassed, fear of being discovered, that he isn't as successful as he leads you on to be. He hasn't arrived. He will someday, but in his mind, he's already there. He's already putting up the scene that he is. So his concern is that he will be embarrassed, that he will make a decision or take some action that ultimately will cause him to be embarrassed or discovered. So at the bottom of that is this feeling of, I'm not competent, I'm not adequate, I don't have what it takes. Every emulator is asking themselves, do I have what it takes to succeed? They're not going to articulate that to you, but it's what drives them. And as you know, our fears can be drivers. If I feel I'm going to be embarrassed if I don't do something right. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to practice. I'm going to do whatever it takes to do it well. If there's a fear that I'm inadequate or I'm incompetent, I'm going to do what it takes to compensate for that. I'm going to work harder, put in more energy, study harder. I'm going to do whatever it takes. So the very fear that would have you and I be scared to death is the thing that motivates the emulator to ultimately succeed. He will not allow himself to fail. The fear of failure, the fear of being embarrassed, the fear of you or anyone else seeing that he's not competent or adequate is the very thing that will drive him to do the opposite and be successful. Now, there's some of the things that your emulator is asking for in a franchise business. This is what he needs. This is what he wants. He needs room to breathe and to innovate. He can't have a franchisor down his neck or telling him how to do things. He needs space. He needs to be able to do things his way. So we're looking for a system that permits that, maybe even encourages that. He needs instant gratification. This is not a guy or gal that can do a sales process that takes 6 months, 9 months. This is someone that needs instant gratification, daily, weekly, something letting him know he's on the right track, numbers on the scoreboard, something that gives him some kind of feedback, because he doesn't have the staying power that the belonger does or the other two do. He's a quick out of the chute kind of guy, hardworking kind of guy, but will get exhausted quickly if he doesn't see some kind of recognition or instant gratification or dollars coming back for his efforts. He needs a system where he has unlimited potential. This is the guy or gal that comes into your office who has $30,000 to invest, has horrible credit, has maybe 10 years under their belt in corporate America, and wants a regional development opportunity. He's a big thinker, right? He wants something that has unlimited potential, although he's operating on a budget that may not allow it. Now, here's what I want you to know. Don't be afraid of these emulators. Emulators will typically have a vast network of people that believe in them, that can see the future with them. So oftentimes an emulator is able to take on partners or take on investors simply because others believe in them. So don't discount these folks. These are the up-and-coming movers and shakers. However, they need a business that doesn't have a lot of back office. They are not paperwork kind of individuals. I mentioned before, they're looking for trendy, progressive products. Find a business where there's change. They need that kind of change. They need that kind of feeling of innovation, progressiveness, etc. And they love to compete. Give them an environment where they can compete. Compete with each other, meaning other franchisees, or compete in the marketplace. They actually love it. They enjoy it. Achiever, above the line, horizontal, driven by power, over to the vertical, return on investment. This is a guy that keeps his eye on the bottom line. It's all about return on investment. Very business-oriented types of individual. It's all about being in control and having a position of power. These are the top dogs. These are the guys that expect to be the top dogs. They, however, unlike the emulator, prefer structure. They like systems and processes. They don't want to reinvent the wheel. They want to take the wheel and roll it down the hill as fast as possible. So they will choose predictability over risk. The emulator doesn't care about predictability because he has a lot of faith in himself and he will take the risk. So the achiever, similar to the belonger, is committed to family and work. His life revolves around those two things. In fact, work not only provides him a sense of financial reward, but in his heart, it's his duty. It's his job to build an empire. That's how he thinks. An achiever lives a structured life around family, church, and business, much like we saw with the belonger. They are also conventional like the belonger, and typically they are politically conservative. They're conservative in many ways, including with their dollars. They cannot avoid a great deal. They're the Costco buyers. They're the wholesale buyers. They know how to get a deal. Now, what's interesting is a deal that isn't a deal unless that product is also one that's the best out there. So they're looking for products and services that are unique, a franchise system that is positioned differently. So it could be a same kind of business in terms of a product, but maybe the market is different or the approach is different. So they're looking for a twist on something, something that's the best, something that's unique, and they are driven by this need to be different and to be unique. So decisions for them, like the belonger, are for the long haul, unlike the emulator, right, which is solve my problem today, get me this thing today. The achiever is thinking always, always exit strategy. Where's my business plan? Which one of these businesses that this broker is showing me is going to provide me a good exit plan? So here's the achiever in the perfect world. He's driven by power. He wants to dominate a marketplace. He wants to own that marketplace, and typically he is looking for the best opportunity where he can, not just a single unit. He may be looking for a regional development opportunity, multi-unit opportunity, and if it's a single unit opportunity, it needs to be a business where he can quickly dominate the marketplace and edge others out, simply because what he's doing is unique and different. So you can see he's about respect, about results. He's got to have something that's the highest quality company to work with. He strategically is looking for growth. Ultimately, it's all about achievement and leaving a legacy. He's going to leave a fingerprint in that marketplace. One way or another, that's what he's going to do. The achiever also has certain fears, and you'll see these playing out when you're working with him. His fear is that he's not going to be the best, that he's not going to be unique, that there's someone else out there in the marketplace that is as good as he is or has a product that's equal to his. He's not comfortable with that. He needs to be the king of the hill. So if you have 3 sign opportunities to show him, and he's an achiever, let's say, choose the one that you can position as the most unique. Choose the one that's the best. Choose the one where he can dominate, not just make money, but dominate. His second fear is not being in control. This is a guy that will push you to have a process to help him go through the due diligence process and come to an ultimate yes-no decision about a franchise system. If you're not in control, he's going to lose respect for you. He'll take control. So do the best you can to have some kind of a process in place. Let him know in advance and fulfill that process each day or each week, however you're doing your process. But it's about being in control. If he can see he can be in control in a franchise business, he's going to be very attracted to that. Most importantly, he wants to replicate. He is always thinking, how can I step out of this business and have someone else step in it? How can I have minions? How can I have mini-me's out there? And how can I have an exit strategy or leave a legacy that I can pass down to my children? This is the achiever, and these are his fears, and this is what's going to be driving him. What's he looking for? This is a guy that's going to sit on the committees and on the boards of that franchise system. He likes to have a say in policy and procedure. He believes he brings a lot to the table. So he's desiring a system where he can do that. He doesn't want to just be one of the peoples. He wants to be in there suggesting the way a franchise system is going to be run. So he's going to sit on the advisory boards, on those committees, and he's going to have a big part of that. He wants to replicate. We talked about that. This is important to him. He's not going to be in that business forever. He's going to step back. He's going to have managers run that business. He's going to, open a second or third location. That's how he's thinking. High growth potential. a lot like the Emulator. He needs high growth potential, and of course he will strategically figure out a way to do this. Next year we'll open this location. 2 years from now we'll do that location. He's looking for a unique product or service. He must dominate the marketplace. No choice. That's how he thinks. And he's looking for proven system. He does not wish to reinvent the wheel. He wants to exploit the systems and process. So he's a good complier, and he will do whatever it takes to replicate, maybe fine-tune to some degree, but he doesn't want to reinvent the wheel. He knows that's not good use of his time. His best time is used to dominate the marketplace. Last of the four value set, and then I want to go into the assessment tool itself. The societal. The societal is that guy or that gal that's at that place in their lives where they want to give back. They want to make a difference. Now, they could be 30 years old or they could be 70 years old. The age isn't just the biggest factor here. The biggest factor is that they are others-directed. They want to help others. So these are typically highly educated individuals and have high incomes. What they want to do is they want to empower, educate, nurture others to succeed. These are your mentors, your advisors, your coaches. These are the folks that get joy and pleasure out of seeing others succeed. Typically, they're very sophisticated, active, take charge people. Now, they're not doing it in as a bold or as aggressive way as the achiever or the emulator. They're usually on the inside in a subtle way, making changes, a much quieter approach to how they're doing it. So they're always interested in growth, spiritual growth, personal growth, financial growth, intellectual growth. They're looking at ways to develop themselves and express themselves, whether it's through art or music or writing or whatever it is, or it could be a business. They're looking at ways of expressing who they are. They, like the emulator, as you notice on the vertical axis, are interested in the product, in the vision of the company. They like innovation, but at the same time, they're looking at ways to serve and contribute to others. So these guys, these gals, are among your established leaders in business and in government. These folks oftentimes may not be running the business themselves. They may be the investor. They may fund your emulator or your achiever or your belonger. So they're the investors. If they themselves are running the business, it's typically a business that is purpose-driven. It has some kind of a cause to it, educational, environmental, political. Maybe it has to do with children or elders, but they're looking at a way to help and make a difference. So they have a wide variety of interests. You walk into their home, they'll have eclectic art and unusual rugs, and they're driving the craziest cars, and they take the most unusual vacations because they're interested in culture and things that are outside of themselves. They're interested in making a change in the world. Social issues are very important to them. Like the achiever, they are sophisticated buyers and consumers. They're always looking for quality. They rather have one of something and it be the best than have three of something and it not. So they have a cultivated taste for finer things. So you may not recognize them as finer, but they definitely have. So they're looking at a business that reflects what their heart is, what their values are. Now, many of you have probably noticed these bar graphs over to the right that have come up now 4 times. And I brought them up to show you that we are combinations of all 4 of these. The dominant one, however, rules about 80% of our lives. So even though we see here the societal marker is very high and the achiever marker is a stair step down, literally, the societal side is about 80% of how this person makes his decisions, even if there's only 3 or 4 points difference between these 2 markers, the first, the primary, and the secondary. The primary is a dominant role in the prospective franchisees' life. So pay attention to what these values are. Show your prospective franchisees businesses that reflect and mirror back those values, and they're going to be a good fit. They're going to love that business. This is the societal. This is what he or she operates from. He or she is driven by purpose. Everything in their life has a purpose. It's about empowering others, contributing to others, impacting others, making a difference. They're looking for businesses that are simple. They take complex ideas and make them simple. They're looking for a simple business because it's very likely that they're going to have others running it. They're always looking for more and more knowledge. They're harmonizers and they're innovators, and ultimately what they want is a place of freedom of expression. So they want to be able to express themselves while at the same time empowering and giving to others. Here are their fears. Their number one fear is that they're ignorant or lacking knowledge. I'm a societal. Trust me, this thing drives me nuts. So the feeling of I'm ignorant or lacking knowledge as it relates to you interacting with that prospective franchisee that's a societal is the fear is that you as a broker know more than I as a prospective franchisee, and because you know more and I'm ignorant about it, that you're going to be able to manipulate me and talk me into a business that ultimately will not allow me to make a difference. Can you see that connection? So the societal will be slow and steady. He or she will spend a lot of time doing due diligence. This is not someone that does well with a fast-talking, smooth-talking, charming salesperson. They are always on the lookout for how can I make a difference. And so they're very cautious that whatever they're choosing is chosen based on where they can have the greatest impact. And so anything that feels like you're leading them or pushing them a particular direction will be perceived as pushing or manipulating. So give the societal lots of space to gather the knowledge and information they need and point them to ways that they can make a difference with this business, with this product, with this service. This company is touching lives. Let them see how that's working. What is the societal needing? Much like the achiever, he or she is also desirous of impacting policy and procedure. Now, here's the difference between the achiever and the societal, and it's a distinct one. The achiever is in there impacting policy and procedure, sitting on their boards, etc., the committees at the franchise, within the franchise system. So is the societal. The achiever, however, is helping impact policies and procedures that makes things more effective, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable. The societal, on the other hand, is impacting policy and procedure that will simplify things, bring it down to the common denominator, and have things be fair and just across the board. Two different motivators, two different people sitting on that same board, one coming from profitability, one coming from justice and fairness. Kind of difficult because sometimes they hit, bang heads, right? So they're looking for things that they can replicate and simplify. As I mentioned before, they're probably going to be empowering others to run the business at some point. That's probably what they're going to be doing. They're looking for a purpose-based, cause-based, solves a problem kind of a business. Education, healthcare, whatever that might be, it needs to solve a problem or what they perceive is a problem. A societal must work with a company that has impeccable standards. The minute a societal sees an untruth or something that appears to be dishonest, they're out of there. So they expect a set of principles and an impeccable company standards, and they want to be a part of that kind of organization. And they'll run a similar kind of organization. Now, as I mentioned before, they're likely to be a hands-off management. In fact, they're probably looking for that kind of a business, and most importantly, they want to contribute. If you recall, on the assessment tool, there's 4 or 5 areas where we address the values. This is a summary page of one of our clients, Amada, and you'll see up here in the left-hand corner the summary page. This first page will be a page where you'll come, and at some point you'll be so well trained, you'll just look at this first page and go, okay, I know what to do with that prospect. So up here you'll notice that there's a constellation. You'll also notice there are two what we call splatter dots. So this is going to alert you to look further into the assessment results to see what these splatter dots are. These splatter dots are values that are askew. They're amiss in this prospective franchisee's life. There's something going on in their life. There's some kind of pain that is going on. And those of you that have been in sales for a while know if we can find out what the pain is and we can solve the pain, we do more deals. So I want you to be looking at that. Over here will be that prospect's top 5 values. And as I mentioned, you will do more deals if you can take those top 3 to 5 values and literally using those words cross over and show them franchise concepts where, in this case, they have an opportunity to build relationships. They have an opportunity for growth. Show them where the system is a system of loyalty, not just to one another, but to their clients. Show them how they can achieve. Show them this is a product or a company of the highest quality. So these are their highest values, and I hope someday we can do a more specific training on how to leverage those values. And then if we go down further, there's this area here. This is the hierarchy of values. It literally lays it out for you. The most important value for this particular prospect is quality. We can look at a gazillion franchise systems, and we can pick out a handful, and we can say this is the best of the best within that particular vertical or market. Growth, loyalty, relationship, achievement. So this is someone that's an achiever, so he will be operating from all the values I showed you just a minute ago, but then these are his most important. Some of them are, ironically, not achiever values. Doesn't matter. This is who he is. He's an achiever with a blend of some other things, and these are the things that are most important to him, so we're looking for a franchise concept that will meet those values. Now, there's 2 other areas that you will see. We point out the values. This particular chart will show you to what degree. As we mentioned, even if this is only 2 or 3 or 4 points different, the achiever is still about 80% of who this prospective franchisee is. He is an achiever. It's how he makes his decisions. It's how he spends his money. It's how he spends his time. The secondary in this case does play a role, but not. It's just a fraction. Maybe 20% of his decisions will come from that side of him. Down below here is the constellation again. Come here, take a look. You'll see in this case 2 splatter dots. A splatter dot is a value that at this current situation in this prospect's life is askew. There's something going on. This is typically not who he or she is. This is a mismatch. So either he is evolving and changing like we all do, or something is going on in their life. In this case, we have a prospect who's an achiever who has 2 values that are amiss: his desire to contribute and his need for satisfaction. These are 2 things that aren't working in his life. So as consultants, we're going to ask him about these things. What's missing in what part of your life are you not feeling a lot of satisfaction in? This could be as a corporate executive who wasn't getting the level of satisfaction from his current employment. He's maybe wanting a bigger impact, a bigger contribution. Maybe he's stifled where he is. All I can tell you is this is what's driving him to come and visit you today at your office. He's looking for advisement of how to get that wound taken care of. And we don't want to just take care of the wound. We also want to make sure we find him a business that aligns with his values. As I mentioned before, the hierarchy of values align and leverage those values in such a way that your prospect sees, I can be all of these things. I'm results-oriented, success-oriented. I need and must have growth. It's all about achievement, relationship, quality, and control for me. I got to have that. Show me a business where I can do this. Don't be afraid to use these words exactly as you're working with your prospective franchisee. Please know that every one of these is unique. This is just 4 random of your clients. These are clients of yours that I pulled up, that you'll see every one of them is different. So it's important to pay attention to the uniqueness of your prospective franchisee and show them that I'm paying attention. I care about you. I'm going to find you a business that's going to allow you to be you. Because in you being you, I know you're going to do well. So let me help you find something that reflects who you are. Values Constellation. This is something in this. Don't forget to come to this page and take a look and ask questions. Now, some people are going to be a little sensitive about what this means, especially if the one that comes up says relationships, it's a splatter dot. They may be a little sensitive and may not tell you exactly what's going on in their life, but this will lend a little bit of credibility to you when you can say, it's got a couple of splatter dots here, let's talk to me. Are you feeling like in your life right now you're having the results that you want? Are you having the kind of success that you had anticipated at this stage of your life? And they'll begin to open up. And let me tell you, as a behavioral scientist, when someone begins to open up their heart to you, and this is what this will do, a level of trust and intimacy gets created. And in that trust and intimacy, they now begin to listen to your advisement and follow that process. They've opened their heart. They've shared a part of who they are, maybe for the first time. But nonetheless, you now know who they are, and they're able now to trust and feel safe with you as you move them through that 8, 12, 16-week process, however long it takes.
To learn more about the SpotOn profile, take the assessment yourself by clicking on the link below. Or reach out to us directly for your 30-day free trial.